Subscribe now, if you're brave enough to keep watching. The night shift always had a stillness to it, the kind that made every sound feel wrong. David Miller had worked security at the Ridgeline corporate complex for 3 years. 11 floors, endless corridors, and walls so clean they reflected your flashlight back at you. He liked the quiet. It made the hours crawl, but at least he was alone. Or so he thought. It started on a Wednesday around 2:10 a.m. David was logged into the control room computer, scanning the feeds like always, when a second login appeared on the system, his own ID. He frowned, thinking maybe it was a software glitch. But when he checked the timestamp, it said David Miller logged in, floor 7, south hallway. His chest tightened. There was no one else on duty that night. Curiosity beat caution. He pulled up the live feed from the south hallway camera. The image flickered, then steadied, showing a man in a black security uniform. Same badge, same walkie clipped to his shoulder, even the same limp in his left foot. The man walked past the vending machine, checked a door, and looked straight into the camera. For a moment, David felt like he was staring into a mirror. He grabbed his flashlight and left the control room, his radio buzzing faintly with static. The hallways felt endless under the humming fluorescent lights. By the time he reached the 7th floor, the camera feed showed the double standing at the far end, motionless. David stepped closer. The double turned and walked into the stairwell. The radio crackled again, a faint whisper buried in the noise. "You're not supposed to be here." David froze. His throat went dry. "Who's this?" he said, but the static swallowed his words. He sprinted to the stairwell door and yanked it open. The concrete steps were empty, echoing his own heavy breathing. He checked the landing, nothing. But when he turned, back toward the hallway, every overhead light went out, one by one, until only the exit sign glowed red behind him. Back in the control room, the system had automatically logged a note. Shift completed, David Miller. 2 active entries, 2. He rewound the camera feed in disbelief. The other him had returned, walking calmly back to the control room, scanning his own ID to clock out. The timestamp matched David's exact position in the stairwell. For the first time in 3 years, David locked the control room door from the inside. He stared at the screen until sunrise, the building humming softly as dawn crept through the blinds. But when the next shift arrived, the supervisor's face drained of color. "Miller," he said slowly, flipping the attendance sheet. "You already clocked out last night." At 3:07 a.m., David looked down and saw his own signature, written perfectly across the page. But he hadn't left the control room, and the pen on the desk was still warm. The next night, David almost didn't show up for work. But bills didn't stop for fear, and fear didn't pay the rent. So at 10:58 p.m., he walked back into the Ridgeline building, greeted by the same hollow echo of his footsteps. The lobby light flickered once, as if acknowledging him. His supervisor, Mark, handed him the clipboard without a word. The schedule had been reprinted. David's name was there again twice, once for 10 p.m., 6 a.m., and again, directly below, 10 p.m., 6 a.m. He pointed it out, but Mark just laughed. Probably an error in the HR software. "Don't let the computers freak you out, Miller. They know too much already." By midnight, David was in the control room again. The monitors hummed quietly, the same sterile hallways, same fluorescent flicker. But when he checked the time-stamped feed from the 7th floor, the same figure appeared walking with a flashlight through the hall. David leaned closer. The man turned toward the camera, and his face was clearer this time. It was his own, down to the small scar under his chin. David muttered under his breath, "Not again." He switched the camera angles: stairwell, lobby, east corridor. Nothing. When he switched back to the 7th floor feed, the double was gone. Then the radio on his desk came alive. "Control, this is Miller. You got eyes on anything in the East Hall?" David froze. The voice was identical, his tone, his inflection. Every part of it was him. He stared at the radio like it might bite. "Who is this? Static. Then you shouldn't be watching." The feed on screen glitched violently, showing flashes of empty halls, lights pulsing like heartbeats, and his double standing inches from the camera, head tilted unnaturally, staring right into the lens. For a second, David swore the man's eyes were black voids, not reflections, just absence. The monitors went black. The hum of the building vanished. Even the fluorescent lights above him went dead, leaving him in pitch darkness. His flashlight refused to turn on. His phone buzzed on the desk, one new message. It was from his own number. "Stop checking the cameras. Come upstairs." He looked at the timestamp. 2:43 a.m., the exact minute the GPS had frozen the night before. David took the service elevator, his heart pounding. The doors opened to the 7th floor, but it wasn't empty this time. The hallway smelled faintly of cleaning chemicals, but the air felt stale, untouched for years. Every few feet, his flashlight caught glimpses of abandoned furniture, peeling paint, and doors that hadn't been used in decades. At the far end, the double stood by a flickering exit sign staring at him. David called out, his voice trembling, "Who are you?" The man smiled faintly, his expression off like a puppet mimicking human emotion. "You already know," he said, but the voice came from behind David. He spun around, empty. When he looked back, the hallway was clean again. The old furniture was gone. The lights were bright, and on the wall behind him, freshly written in marker, "Shift, complete, David Miller." 2 active entries. He ran to the stairwell, bolting down the steps, but the building didn't end. Every floor he reached was labeled 7. Every hallway looked the same. He tried the radio again, screaming for help, until a calm voice answered his own saying, "Relax. You're not done yet." And from somewhere above, the elevator dinged open. By the 3rd night, David knew something was wrong with more than the cameras. It was the building itself. The air carried a static hum, the kind that made your teeth ache and your head pulse. His hands trembled as he swiped his badge through the scanner. It beeped twice before the lock clicked. The system flashed a new message across the screen. "Duplicate detected, override accepted." He didn't tell anyone about the duplicate message. He didn't tell them about the voice that matched his own, or the footage of his reflection moving seconds before he did. He just told himself he'd finish this one shift, collect his paycheck, and never come back. But the moment he sat in the control room, every screen turned on by itself. Camera 1, lobby. Camera 2, stairwell. Camera 3, parking garage. Camera 4, control room. The last one made him stop breathing. The feed showed him sitting in the chair, but the version on screen turned its head toward the camera before David could even react. He jumped up and shut off the monitor, but the sound of typing filled the room. The keyboard began to move on its own, letters clattering one by one. "You were never meant to leave." His phone buzzed again, another message from his own number. "Stop running. The system needs 2 of you." Then came the siren, a low, distant wail that grew louder until it vibrated through the walls. Lights stuttered overhead, and the hum deepened into something almost alive. David grabbed his flashlight and bolted out of the control room. The stairwell doors slammed shut before he could reach them. Behind him, the elevator chimed one slow, hollow ding. He turned. The elevator doors opened. Inside, his double stood motionless, holding David's own ID card in his hand. The lights flickered, distorting the man's features into an almost human blur. David shouted, "What are you?" The double tilted its head, its voice perfectly calm. "I'm just finishing your shift." The doors slid shut. The control panels beside them began cycling through floors. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 11, then back down. The building shuddered, like something deep inside was waking up. He ran to the control room again, slamming the door behind him. All the cameras now displayed static except one. Camera 4. It showed the elevator opening on the 7th floor again. The double stepped out, looking directly into the lens, holding something that glinted under the fluorescent light, David's security badge. The feed zoomed in automatically. On the badge photo, David noticed something new. The reflection of a figure standing behind him when the picture had been taken the same blurred outline he'd seen on the screens for days. The timestamp under the photo had changed. It now read issued October 21st, 2027. That was 2 years ahead. The lights went out. The next morning, the day shift arrived to find the control room empty. The monitors were on, Looping the same silent footage, the building perfectly still, every hallway clean and quiet. But in the system log, 2 entries glowed faintly. David Miller, clock, in, 10 p.m. David Miller, clock, out, pending. And deep in the 7th floor hallway, the cameras caught a flicker of movement. A man in a uniform walking his rounds, same badge, same limp, same face. Only now, no one remembered hiring him. If this story haunted you, the next one will keep you awake long after the lights go out. Hit subscribe if you dare.